My name is Allison, and for as long as I can remember, my parents measured worth in status, wealth, and appearances. Growing up, I had every material comfort, but very little affection. Their idea of love was tied to money, and their approval depended on whether I fit into their rigid idea of success. When I fell in love with Michael, a hard-working contractor, they couldn't see his kindness or determination. They only saw a man from a modest family without a wealthy background. Despite their judgment, I chose to marry him. That choice shattered everything between us. My parents disowned me, told relatives I had disgraced our family name, and cut me out completely. It hurt deeply, but Michael and I built our lives together, determined to prove that love and perseverance meant more than their shallow values. The years that followed tested us, but Michael and I refused to give up. He poured himself into growing his contracting company, and I launched an interior design business that slowly gained recognition. There were long nights, setbacks, and sacrifices, but we leaned on each other. Piece by piece, we built a life we were proud of. Eventually, we purchased a breathtaking estate worth over $5 million, a symbol of how far we had come. Ironically, we had achieved a level of success even my parents couldn't imagine. Around the same time, their fortune began to crumble. Their investments soured, their savings dwindled, and their once lavish lifestyle started slipping through their fingers. I thought I'd never hear from them again after their cruelty, but life had other plans. One day, I received a message from my mother that changed everything. The message was casual, almost cheerful, as though years of silence and rejection hadn't happened. She wanted to reconnect, claiming they missed me and hoped to visit. I agreed to meet them at a cafe, not out of forgiveness but curiosity. When I saw them walk in, I barely recognized the people who had once looked down on me. My father's suit, once sharp, now looked worn, and my mother clutched her handbag like it was the last piece of her pride. After awkward small talk, they finally revealed the real reason for reaching out. They wanted to move into my estate. They said their home was too large to manage and that it only made sense for the family to help the family. They acted as if their betrayal had never happened, as though they were entitled to my success. Their request hit me like a slap in the face. These were the same parents who had declared I was no longer their daughter, who had mocked Michael for not being good enough, who never showed up when life was hardest. Now, with their empire collapsing, they thought they could waltz back into my world. I looked at them and felt a strange mix of anger and pity. They weren't here for love or reconciliation. They wanted comfort, security, and access to the life I had built without them. My mother even said, "You wouldn't want your parents to live in misery, would you?" The manipulation was so obvious, but it only fueled my resolve. For the first time, I realized I held all the power in this relationship, and I wasn't going to waste the opportunity. I calmly told them I would think about it and invited them to visit the estate. When they arrived, I gave them the full tour. Their eyes widened as they walked through marble hallways, admired the expansive gardens, and saw the luxury they had once claimed I could never achieve. I could practically see their greed soaking in every detail. My father muttered, "This is what we always dreamed of for you," pretending to take credit for something he had nothing to do with. I smiled politely, but inside, I was seething. This wasn't their dream. It was mine and Michael's, built through years of determination. I decided then that if they wanted to move in, they would experience it on my terms. My revenge would be subtle but unforgettable. I told them I had one condition if they wanted to live there. Their faces lit up, convinced I was agreeing. I explained that they could move into the guest house at the edge of the property. It was small, outdated, and originally used by staff decades ago. My mother's smile faltered, and my father asked if I was serious. I told them if they wanted to stay, they would be responsible for maintaining the gardens, cleaning the pool, and managing small repairs. Suddenly, their dream of luxury turned into the reality of work. They thought they could sit back and enjoy my estate while I served them, but instead, they would serve me. I watched their pride shrink, and I knew my revenge was unfolding exactly as I had planned. Reluctantly, they agreed, having no better options. For weeks, I watched them struggle with tasks they once paid others to do. My father grumbled while trimming hedges, and my mother complained endlessly about the heat while cleaning the patio. The entitled elegance they once carried began to crumble. They weren't guests in my home. They were laborers on my property, bound by necessity and pride. At first, I thought I might feel guilty, but instead I felt liberated. This wasn't cruelty, it was justice. Every weed they pulled, every leaf they raked, reminded them that respect isn't a birthright, it's earned. For once, they were forced to acknowledge the value of hard work, something they had mocked Michael for his entire life. Eventually, they tried to negotiate, asking for more comfort, fewer chores, or even space inside the main house. Each time, I firmly refused. I reminded them of their words years ago, that I was no longer their daughter. I told them they had forfeited the right to my kindness when they abandoned me. If they didn't like their arrangement, they were free to leave at any time. The more I stood my ground, the more they realized they couldn't manipulate me anymore. Michael supported me fully, reminding me that we had worked too hard to let them invade our peace. Slowly, their arrogance faded into quiet compliance. Watching them live in the shadow of the estate they once thought I'd never deserve was the sweetest form of revenge. After a few months, they couldn't take it anymore. One morning, they packed their things and left without saying goodbye. I stood on the balcony, watching their car drive away, and felt a sense of closure I never thought I'd have. I didn't celebrate their downfall, but I didn't grieve either. They had built their lives on status and cruelty, and now they had to live with the consequences. My estate remained mine and Michael's, a symbol of love, resilience, and justice. In the end, their attempt to exploit me only backfired, forcing them to face the life they had created. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's simply living well and making sure those who doubted you see it. And for me, that was enough. So, that's the story of how the parents who once disowned me tried to crawl back when they saw my success. Instead of opening the doors to comfort, I gave them a taste of humility. If you enjoyed this story, remember, success built with love and hard work always speaks louder than shallow pride. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for another unforgettable tale. Until next time, never let anyone define your worth but yourself.